that is decaying in the woods, along with things like this. These are mosques that are 500 years old, built when there were Arab dominations, Arab dominance in this region, next to Hindu temples that are rotting away in the jungle. It's a wild place to be in, to see all that. And it's spicy, I mean, everything's spiced and colorful, and fruit everywhere.
What is that?
That's jackfruit. And again, you see these coastal communities that go underwater. Here's 9 months later, this is now intertidal. It's no longer a village. It floods twice a day. People don't pay attention to them anymore. They don't have fresh water. The ground's salty. It doesn't come out. Your well doesn't pump fresh anymore. And every day, this other impoundment blew out of there. So the day after this thing blew out, that village flooded. And there's no way to fix this. See, it's crumbling away. And most of the people move to the cities. The men move to the cities, for the most part, and the children, women, and old folks stay out in this area, in this region. It looks like this. It's just mud. Yep. Yeah.
So is this from water rising or global warming, or just
the
movement?
There's from cyclones, but also from the delta will always move on its own.
Yeah.
That's what it's doing. But the sea level in this part of the world is rising. It's in a phase of rising right now, whether it's caused by, I would say, climate change, but some argue other things. But it's happening. It happens. Like it's indisputable. There are villages that are now underwater. Boom. End of that point. There's no causation, whatever. But there are now villages underwater that are made of mud that are gone. So you can see the women stay in these little refugee camps, built up on the high ground, with no food, no water. A couple days a week. Again, this was old rice paddies. You can't grow there. They're contaminated with waste and with salt. And the people there are trying to rebuild, but just with mud and sticks. You see rice fields that have been salted and won't grow now because they flood too regularly. And water is not available. They dug an open pit to find water. It's a sink, it's a shower, it's where you get your drinking and cooking water from, and it's salty. But it's the best. These people in this certain farmhouse staying at, it's the best they have. And then the women who are left in the towns will also wait for water to come, because the government promises they'll deliver fresh water, which is fresh but not clean. So they send down these tankers every few days. It's supposed to be every day. Yeah, come Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe. It's supposed to be every day. They tell them they're coming every day, so they wait every day. It's 95 degrees and they wait every day. And sometimes they get water. They make these lines, waiting for water, waiting for water. I mean, it's hard to think about drinking water anymore without thinking about people waiting for water that might come. A little bit of water. And then walking 2 miles with it to get home. And then doing everything else they have to do to live. So I left Bangladesh after a few months. I left the city, which was growing and poor and dirty and high-tech and modern, and the coast, which was ancient and changing. And I went to Cambodia, to Phnom Penh, South Asia's little old. It was a jewel for the French Empire at one time. So it has this very French colonial feel. The people were coming from a genocide. They're really poor. There's a lot of people that are going hungry. I felt like I had gotten back to Europe. It was like, there was clean water. There was, closed sewers. It was an amazing place to go to. And the people there were just amazing. I mean, the cities, though it's had such a terrible history in the last 30 years, the people have this energy. It's like, we're going forward. We're coming back. And while I went there for a visa for 2 days and stayed for 2 months. And spent most of the time up on this big lake, the Tony Sap. It's a huge lake on the Mekong River. Giant fishery, feeds most of the country. And saw this a culture that's just water. They're all about the water. They live in the water. They're all their money. You see, these are the houses that I lived in this house for a few weeks. This is the village. It's just a floating village. It's like Venice, but houseboats. People are going around selling their wares. Building outdoor gardens, floating in the water, swimming in the water, pooping in the water, buying your pigs in the water, or whatever. I mean, this is just traveling salespeople. Very different culture than Bangladesh. I mean, this is a culture like a lot more integration between men and women, a lot more sort of freedom for enterprise, a lot more available resources. Just the population is only 3 million people in Cambodia. It's as big as Bangladesh. So
are they Muslims too?
No, they're Buddhist. Mostly Buddhist.
Are they?
Buddhist, yeah. So So it was a culture that I felt very kindred to because they're water people. This is where there'd be a week or two that I'd be on the water and never get off it. It was really fun. And you can see, this is the guy I met with a bunch. He's a Vietnamese friend of mine. And I had these kayaks that I borrowed from someone in Phnom Penh. And these people, they'd hop in kayaks and they'd be like, whoa! They'd paddle real fast and I'd watch guys writing down designs, like how they're going to build the next boat. I'm like, no, your boats are better. Like, these are plastic, you don't want these, But just, it's such an industry too. And the freedom to be industrious right now because the resources they're doing well. Yet there's a lot of trouble with food and fish here too. But the pressure hasn't quite caught up here yet. The big danger in this part of the world is up north in the Mekong River, there is a place called China that builds these big dams. And they need water, the Chinese. And there's a lot of them. So there's a pretty realistic danger that China will take a lot of this water away and sort of starve this culture of its water in the moment of their big rebound as a people. But right now, it's one of the most uplifting places I've ever lived. And the wilderness is sort of gone because there's a lot of food, so you eat everything. Oh, is that a tiger? Let's eat it. That's sort of the mentality there, which was hard to not see any sort of the jungles that were part of Cambodia. But remembering the people here, the people were pretty inspiring in this place. I mean, you can see little snapshots of the culture of the community. These are just the washed up boats, the old boats in the town, and the water is just full of more and more. And like this little girl, she was like 5 years old, 8 years old, out rowing a big boat by herself, coming over and she was trying to sell fish. And we bought a bunch of fish from her. She's a good saleswoman. And fish, like I said, just dominate the culture. Everyone goes out and you're catching fish. And fish, you're looking for fish. You're trying to feed people. You're making fermented fish paste to get through the winter. Huge cultural community events around fish. The money is even called real, which is the same word they use for fish. So everything goes down to fish. And this beautiful designs for getting fish and for being on the water. The lines of boats that are the same all over the world, but each culture takes them and makes them special. And drying fish here too, the same way in the Arctic, just they're smaller fish and they kind of smoke them a little bit, but the same technologies, fundamental technologies, in completely different places. You can see like the community. Everywhere I would paddle through this country, just the communities. Everything's out, same type of thing. Everything's out in the open. Same thing in Bangladesh. So I was already desensitized to a lot of that, to being looked at and poked at and asked questions. And again, there is some wildlife left there. These are just flocks of ibises, or avocets.
Which kind?
I'm not sure, but
Are they all black?
All black. I would close it black ibises. Yeah. So there's a lot of bird migrations here. There's a lot of fish in the water. So there is some positives there. And again, just beautiful trees. And, the jungle, the tropics have amazing wood. Things grow so fast down there. But I went downstream after this.
And the water was decent quality?
Yeah, no. Decent enough. I swam in that water. I didn't swim in Bangladesh. But no, there's a lot of issues around sanitation. But the country's addressing it. And like I said, they're Buddhists there. It's the same sort of culture of inspiration. And there's starvation. Again, this is a woman. She got his trash at night, sleeping on the street in monk's robes. It's interesting cross over between the spirituality and culture with the most poor. You have these like I said, these big lots of money. And look how we're back on our feet with people who go out at night and sweep trash up and live in robes that are discarded by the monks. And her arm is like 2 inches around, and she's a grown woman. But I left Cambodia, like I said. I went downstream to Vietnam, into the Mekong Delta. Except I was in Cambodia, and I wasn't on a delta. I was on the river, but I hadn't got to the delta yet because I got stuck there because I had so much fun and had such good work to do. I was working with a bunch of people in the water, but I eventually had to go to Vietnam. I had a flight out of Vietnam, so I went down south in the delta. The Vietnamese in the south are so industrious. The cities are booming. It was so different from being in Cambodia or Bangladesh. These are like anything. It's like being back in the West, but everyone's Vietnamese and rode motorcycles. So I went down south and spent a few weeks bicycling through most of southern Vietnam, around the delta, through the rural communities where it's,